2022, end of the year is here, and we finally have confirmation that the 2022 Battlebots World Championship is happening. It's happening in October. It's going to be airing in January, and we're fired up for it. We're going to be talking about everything we know about the 2022 Battlebots World Championship, Battlebots Champions, and live events. That's right, Battlebots live events next here at the Combot Collective. Stay tuned.
Enough energy to get in the flip on Combot. We're going to go all the way.
Oh my God! That's going to hurt. Grab the milk, Kenny.
Welcome to the Combot Collective.
Hello everybody and welcome to yet another news episode here at the Combot Collective, bringing everything you want to know from the world of robot combat, from the heavyweight class to the fleetweight class, from Battlebots to the live circuit. And today, it's the news that we have just been waiting to share with you guys since the last Battlebots season ended. And thank goodness we did not have to wait long after crowning our Golden Bolt champion in Endgame. Of course, we're talking about the fact that Battlebots is predictably back at it once again, with tickets now on sale for the 2022 World Championship as of the 12th of September, and we have numerous developments and exciting things, from rule changes, new robots, walking machines, and perhaps even live events outside the main season to discuss here in this episode. So let's not waste time and discuss the timeline from the end of Battlebots Champions to right this second, and boy, it is looking like it's going to be an absolutely insane year. Battlebots will begin teasing and discussing the 2022 World Championship on the 9th of September, revealing tickets to supporters that day, and finally, on the 13th that week, news would go public. Battlebots was back yet again for a 2022 championship, as tickets would go public during this time, with Battlebots moving from Eventbrite to Ticketmaster, which has upset some fans. I mean, I'm not much of a Ticketmaster person myself, but ultimately it's a good money-making move for the company. With the news of tickets, a schedule would also be announced, which showed that Battlebots Champions would return for a second season, but perhaps more excitingly, it teased the possibility of a 4-round regular season returning, plus Battlebots still running a 32 robot bracket. This would later be confirmed by Greg Munson on the Behind the Bots podcast. Greg Munson, of course, one of the co-founders of Battlebots, on the show. A lovely show. You should definitely check out this episode. It features friend of TCC, Luke Stengel, heading the ship over there. Plenty of details that would be revealed in that podcast, and plenty of things which we're discussing in this video here, as Greg discussed everything from competing robots to live events to 2022 rule changes, like I mentioned. Rule changes which we will save for a completely separate video. We're going to have some guests on for that. Watch out for that video later on in the next couple of weeks. But let's get down to the real meat and potatoes here. The 2022 Battlebots World Championship, which is apparently going to be known as Battlebots 7, which seems silly since this is not the 7th Battlebots Heavyweight Championship. It's the 16th, so here at the Combot Collective, we're just going to keep calling it Battlebots 2022. And this season will be a ground-shattering 54 hours this year, with 2.5-hour episodes during the main World Championship season and the playoffs. And this means, like I mentioned, 4 fights for each robot, and serious stipends are going to be given out, ones reportedly bigger than even ABC gave to each robot after each fight. These totals have not been decided publicly, but this does show that Battlebots have listened to teams like Aptix Designs and the rest of the Battlebots community's pleas for builders to be better compensated. Another way the teams will be receiving more pay will be special in-house sponsorships, which can be featured on the show itself. We're talking about major companies specifically sponsoring things like the pulverizers, the kill saw, or as Greg Munson used an example, the arena clock, something similar to what Rolex does in F1. But if you want a better example, back in the Comedy Central era, Microsoft apparently offered a deal to Battlebots to have the Battlebox renamed the Xbox. Battlebots turned this down then, but if a similar instance were to occur this year, that sponsorship money would go 100% directly to the builders affiliated with that promotion, something Discovery has agreed with. So we now have multiple ways for Roboteers to get compensated in 2022 and beyond, and you just love to see that. That's the biggest way possible to expand the sport, in my opinion. But Talking about more about the extended season and extended episodes, Greg Munson brought up something else that was a little controversial in 2021, the untelevised playoff fights. We saw some very exciting meetings like Shredderator vs. Rotator 2 and Huge vs. Uppercut, and even some controversial meetings like Combot vs. Whiplash all missed the televised cut last year, and this left a bad taste in a lot of fans' mouth along with the Battlebots teams themselves. Battlebots is making good on their past faults, with Greg announcing much ahead of time this year that there will be no skipped playoff matches for the 2022 playoff season, a very much welcome reveal to the fans. Now, the 2022 season, of course, finishes recording just before Halloween and will make its Discovery Channel premiere in January, just like it did this year. Greg would also add that Battlebots will have a second permanent home with TBS every Wednesday after AEW Dynamite to catch the 18 to 49 demographic, something Discovery doesn't necessarily do as well. It's more for the older audience. It's exciting to see Battlebots permanently expand its web, and I can't help but wonder if we'll be getting a TBS exclusive fight each week. Only time will tell. I'm all for some AEW Battlebots crossover. Two of my favorite things, just scissoring right there. We love to see it. But now let's talk about something more fun, the 2022 Battlebots roster. Supporters have received a field of 53 robots over the last couple of weeks, with a couple of teams yet to reveal the even supporters, wanting to keep things low-key. Greg Munson said that the main regular season will only be a 50 robot field, with one of the Team Mammoth members on Reddit adding that there will be also 5 alternatives, which will presumably be Champions exclusive competitors unless something else comes up. And speaking of champions, the Golden Bolt series will return with 2-hour episodes. Former and current Giant Nut winners will receive an auto pass into the finale. And Greg Munson even said that the invitation is open for Tombstone and Bite Force to show up to that event exclusively. Given it may be easier being at those events being at the end of the recording window, we know that Ray Billings does have the thumb injury, so maybe that will give him a chance to compete without pushing himself too much. But let's get back to the main field robots. Like I said, 50 robots with 10 of those being international combatants. We have 4 from the UK, 2 from Brazil, and others coming from Canada, New Zealand, the Netherlands, and of course, Australia, which it's been teased, was not officially official yet. This likely means one thing and one thing only though. Deathroll is back, potentially. Let's not count our crocs until they hatch, but it's been a long 1,200 plus days since we last saw the 2019 semifinalist fight, and we are all just begging to see this robot return. I know I'm certainly a sucker for it. King of Draft 2019, that robot carried my team. Oh, I'm so excited to see Deathroll again. But the field has 10 internationals, but we also have 9 pure newcomers this season. One of those pure newcomers would be Double Tap, a robot we discussed during our applicant rundown, a very unique horizontal spinner designed by the drone company Ostrich Air. A fascinating team given the fact that former Pixar animators are part of this pit crew. A very unique team. Greg Munson has also said that a new Rusty-esque robot will debut this year, which personally makes me think it will be Doomba, a robot which recently confirmed itself for Battlebots this year, but that is speculation. We also have some old teams bringing new robots. With the drama and rejection of Deep Six now moving on behind us, Battlebots looks ahead by announcing the confirmation of their new robot Triton for the 2022 World Championship. We do not know exactly what Triton will be, but we do know that Bradley Hanstead will be captaining the robot this year. And aside from the robot being a horizontal spinner version of Deep Six, I do seriously hope this robot has shades of Depth Charge from NHRL, unarguably the most destructive robot in Norwalk Havoc's young history. Another veteran team with a new robot will be Bots FC, who may be the next team following the split squads trend we've seen recently, with Greg Munson also confirming that the popular traded 30-pounder vertical spinner Emulsifier will be making the jump to the 250-pound class, a robot we've discussed in the past on applicant rundowns as well. Another new robot that we may possibly see come in demo form comes from none other than the legendary roboticist Mark Zatrakian, the builder of some amazing creations like Snake, Mechadon, the Master, and all the robots from Sci-Fi's Robot Combat League. Battlebots is planning on introducing a 250-pound walkers-only side class that could potentially get off the ground for the 2023 championship, and Greg teased the idea that Mark may be bringing something to this event to inspire builders to bring walkers to fight other walkers in the future. But that's what we have for confirmed and even rumored 2022 robots. But with acceptance comes a rejection, unfortunately. And with a 50 robot regular season means that cuts had to be made. This unfortunately included robots like IceWave and ORBY Blade, two robots that are very dear to me and robots which represent unique things in our sport, with IceWave being the last standing internal combustion engine powered robot and ORBY Blade being South Korea's only active heavyweight. Denying both these robots seems pretty silly in my opinion, and given some of the robots that actually made the cut this year, I'm a little shocked. But I ain't the selection committee, so we do have some final notes here on the 2022 World Championship. No Jenny tapped again during this season, unfortunately, with the college football season being in full swing when Battlebots goes down. Battlebots will be planning on doing some YouTube exclusive pit segments using bot whisperer Pete Abramson. And speaking of the Battlebots crew, the upper deck will be returning for at least 1 year, much to many fans' chagrin. Trey Roski is also trying to do something about the corner out of the arena zones apparently, but once again, I seriously wish they'd just leave them alone instead of punishing flippers more than they already have, but I digress. I really just want to see things be the best for teams like Blip, Lucky, Hydra, and of course Banshee, the newest flipper to join the Battlebots field. But our last major development to talk about here today may be the biggest of them all. We've heard Battlebots talk a ton about them wanting to make Battlebots itself a weekly special Vegas event, even possibly nightly. And we haven't seen Greg or Trey actually capitalize on that since receiving their permanent venue at Caesars Palace. Well, it looks like things are finally changing, with Greg announcing at the end of this podcast that Battlebots live shows will may be occurring as soon as November 2022, just a month after the 2022 World Championship concludes. Greg Munson said he's been working with some top teams like Hypershock, Whiplash, among others, to have show-made versions of these robots available at all times to compete weekly at these Vegas live shows. I can't help but wonder, though, if they're going to have the main drivers for these robots present at these events, or if they're going to be using show drivers to go along with these show bots. That feels a little too hokey in my opinion, but we'll have to see how Battlebots plays it out. They know what they're doing. What's more exciting to me, though, is the fact that these events are going to be, get this, open entry. It's going to look like Comedy Central every month potentially, as Greg Munson has teased the idea of qualifying tournaments scattered throughout the year, exclusive for new robots. These events will be the new selection committee of sorts and will let us see which robots are going to be proven challengers without blindly accepting bold concepts for future Battlebot seasons. That kind of stuff just doesn't make for good TV. We're going to have proven dominant robots competing every year. It's going to be exciting, and you kind of need that with a very small field like they're going to be having moving on. But I seriously hope that these events and fights will be live streamed and recorded. Greg Munson has said that he intends for these to be placed on their YouTube and Twitch channels, but you gotta take it with a grain of salt, given Battlebots' track record with these sort of things. I mean, the team is only barely managing to get Remars All-Stars up on YouTube, presumably by year's end, if Greg Munson is to be believed. So only time will tell. But I seriously hate to see these fight cards become lost media. But assuming they won't be, expect these fights to factor right into our TCC heavyweight power rankings for the coming years. Those rankings, of course, are going to reset with the new Battlebots season on the 18th. We will have one more TCC 10 before the 18th, showcasing all the position changes from Battlebots champions and a couple of live events which have happened in Europe, and then likely one more once we finally get Remars All-Stars and the Extreme Robots fights in full, so we have a final idea of our 2021-2022 TCC 10 rankings, seeing where every single robot places coming into that 2022-2023 calendar window. But that's going to do it for us here. That's everything that we know about the 2022 Battlebots World Championship. We have confirmed robots, exciting new names like Banshee, Double Tap, Doomba, Horizon, all confirmed for Battlebots 2022 so far. And of course, Old Guard returning, some robots like Deathroll coming back into the fray, and we gotta say goodbye to some robots too, of course. We've said goodbye to a lot of robots like Smee, like Duck. We gotta temporarily say goodbye to some robots like Orby and IceWave, and Tombstone, unfortunately. We discussed that in our last video, but To quote Crip Mac, I think everything gonna see alright. I'm looking forward to this new BattleBots season. That's what we know though. Right now, you can best believe we're gonna have more BattleBots 2022 developments before the season begins. We want to do our annual preview video once again. We're planning on doing that rule change video. We're likely going to have Freeze and Mantine on for that one, talking about everything that's changed with the 2022 BattleBots season, and much more. Robots Live Stoke video will be coming out soon. We're going to be talking about King of Draft a little bit, trying to recruit some people for that. It's going to be an exciting year here at the Combot Collective. It's taken me a little bit to get out of the brain funk. I had COVID recently during my vacation. That really sucked, so bear with me over these next couple of weeks. I don't know when all these videos are going to come out, but rest assured I am going to get them out. I love your guys' support. You guys have been amazing so far, and here's to a second year of the Combot Collective here. Of course, speaking of the Combot Collective, I am your host as always, Sterling Brown. You can find me on Instagram at SterlingTXTG. And as for the Combot Collective, you can follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Those links are in the description below. You can join our Discord server. That's where all of our video upload news comes out first, sometimes a day early. And then please give us a like, comment, a subscription, ring the bell icon on YouTube. You know how it goes. We need all your support, all your love, all your constructive criticism. We want to make TCC better every day, and it's going to be a very crazy year up ahead. We talk about robo games, live events in the UK, live events in the US, BattleBots being bigger than ever. We got a lot to talk about, and we're going to be talking about all of it. Thank you so much for watching the Combot Collective. I am your host, as always, Sterling Brown, and we will see you next time to talk about more robot combat.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.